the Grand Master of Demonic Cultivation. Chapter 100. Hatred, Part 4. Jinling sat up at once, shouting, "Uncle!" Zhang Qing's eyes swept over, responding coldly, "You wish. Now you're calling me uncle, why did you run so fast earlier?" After he finished, he turned the direction of his gaze either intentionally or not towards Wei Wuxian and Lan Wangji. Before the pairs of eyes could meet, Su Shi had already steadied himself with his sword, Numping, and lunged at Zhang Qing. Zhang Qing hadn't even attacked when a string of dog barks sounded. Fairy charged into the temple like a flying fish and threw itself straight at Su Shi. Hearing the dog, Wei Wuxian immediately felt his hair rise. He shrunk back into Lan Wangji's arms, half dead with fright, "Lan's on." Lan Wangji had already embraced him without needing any reminder, replying, "I am here." Wei Wuxian, "Hug me." Lan Wangji, "I am hugging you." Wei Wuxian, again, "Hug me tight." Lan Wangji, also, "I am hugging you tight." Even without the view, just listening to the voices was enough to make Zhang Qing's facial muscles twitch. He originally wanted to look that way, but now he gained complete control over his neck. Right this moment, from behind the palace rushed a couple of monks and cultivators, attacking with their swords. Zhang Qing laughed coldly before he raised his right hand, painting a brilliant streak of purple amid the Guanyin temple. Any who was struck by the purple were sent flying backwards, yet he still held the umbrella steadily in his hand. Only when everyone in the palace lay in disorder on the ground, jerking and quivering as if they were still being shocked, Zhang Qing finally closed his umbrella. On the other hand, Su Shi yelled in anger, trying to tackle the dog. Jinling yelled from the side, "Fairy! Watch out! Fairy, bite him! Bite his hand!" Lan Ziqian called out, "Sect leader Zhang, be careful of the Gkan." Before he even finished, notes of the Gkan sounded from behind the Guanyin temple. However, back on Burial Mound, Zhang Qing had already suffered quite a lot because of the dark melody. He was nationally more than alert. The moment the first note echoed, he kicked the ground, using the tip of his foot to bring up a sword that a cultivator dropped. With his left hand, he tossed away the paper umbrella and grabbed the sword, and with his right he unsheathed Sandu from his waist. With a sword in each hand, he slashed them against each other with force. The two blades scraped, letting out an extremely harsh noise that overcame Jin Guangyao's Gkan. It was quite the effective method. But there was only one shortcoming: the sound was just too painful to hear. It was so painful that it felt as if one's ears would be pierced through by the terrible noise. And to Lan Ziqian and Lan Wangji, who grew up in the Gusu Lan sect, it was even more unbearable. Both of the two frowned slightly. However, Lan Wangji was in the middle of doing his job, hugging Wei Wuxian, and was unable to cover his ears. And so, as Wei Wuxian trembled, listening to the dog barks, he reached out and covered Lan Wangji's ears for him. With a hardened face, Zhang Qing continued to create the nasty noise with the two swords in his hands as he approached the back of the palace. But before he even reached the place, Jin Guangyao walked out on his own, covering his ears. "Sect leader Zhang, I must admit my defeat against such a power move." Zhang Qing swung Zidian towards Jin Guangyao, who dodged out of the way. "Sect leader Zhang, how did you get here?" Zhang Qing refused to talk to him. Jin Guangyao's spiritual energy wasn't as high as his, so he didn't dare face him directly. He could only dodge nimbly, again and again, remaining composed as his subordinates attacked Zhang Qing. "Did you chase after A Ling when he was running around? Fairy must have led the way for you as well." "Well, I was the one who gave it to him, after all, but it gives me no face or whatsoever." Hugged so tightly by Lan Wangji, Wei Wuxian didn't feel as scared anymore, even when he heard the dog barks. He even had the spare energy to ponder, recalling a certain someone as he watched how Jin Guangyao smiled and batted his eyes even as he fought. He whispered, "He really is the same as Zhu Yang." Lan Wangji, however, didn't say anything. Having received no answer, Wei Wuxian looked up to realize that he was still covering Lan Wangji's ears. Lan Wangji didn't hear what he said at all, and that had to be why he didn't answer. He let go at once. At this point, Jin Guangyao's tone suddenly changed, smiling. Sect leader Zhang, what's wrong? Ever since we started, your eyes have been so shifty, almost like you're scared of looking that way. Is anything over there? Zhang Qing, you're the chief cultivator, after all. Fight me if you can, why the chit-chat? Jin Guangyao, you're still avoiding it? Nothing is over there except for your shik. Did you really come here chasing after a Ling? Zhang Qing, what do you think? Whom else would I be looking for? Lan Zichen, do not answer him. Jin Guangyao had always been good with words. As soon as Zhang Qing began to talk with him, his attention would be directed elsewhere and his emotions involuntarily influenced. Jin Guangyao, fine. Mr. Wei, you see? Your shitty didn't come looking for you. He doesn't even want to spare you a single glance. Wei Wuxian smiled, now those are strange words. It's not the first day sect leader Zhang treats me like this. Do I need you to keep on reminding me? Hearing this, Zhang Qing's lips twisted slightly. Veins popped from the back of the hand with which he held Zidian. Jin Guangyao turned to him again, sighing, sect leader Zhang, look, it's just so difficult being your shik, isn't it? Noticing how Jin Guangyao kept on directing the topic of conversation at him, Wei Wuxian began to worry. Zhang Qing returned the sarcasm, sect leader Jin, isn't it more difficult being your sworn brother? Jin Guangyao didn't care about whether or not Zhang Qing was listening to him at all. Sect leader Zhang, I heard yesterday you threw a tantrum in Lotus Pier without a reason, running around holding the sword that belonged to the Yiling patriarch, telling everyone you met to unsheath it. Zhang Qing's expression was enough to send shivers down one's spine. Wei Wuxian suddenly shot up from Lan Wangji's arms. His heart skipped a beat as well. In his head, a voice ranted, my sword? He means Suibian? Didn't I leave Suibian to Wen Ning? No, when I saw him yesterday, it's true I didn't see him carrying it. How did it end up in Zhang Qing's hands? Why would Zhang Qing tell others to unsheath it? Has he tried unsheathing it himself yet? Just as his mind tensed, Lan Wangji reached out and stroked his back. Wei Wuxian finally calmed down somewhat. And as he saw Zhang Qing's sudden silence, Jin Guangyao's eyes shone, I heard nobody could unsheath the sword, but you managed to unsheath it yourself. How curious. The sword sealed itself away over 13 years ago, when I first collected it. Apart from the Yiling patriarch himself, nobody would ever be able to unsheath it. Zhang Qing charged with both Zidian and Sandu, raging, shut up. Jin Guangyao, however, continued on his own, grinning, and so I remembered. Back then, young Master Wei was so willful. He never brought his swords anywhere, and found a different excuse every single time. I've always found this peculiar, what about you? Zhang Qing roared, just what do you want to say? Jin Guangyao raised his voice, sect leader Zhang, you're truly extraordinary, the youngest sect leader who rebuilt the Yunzhang sect on his own. But I recall that you could never beat Mr. Wei in anything, in the past. Could you tell me how you rose above him after the Sunshot campaign? Did you perhaps take any golden elixirs? At the words golden elixirs, his pronunciation was both clear and sharp. Zhang Qing's features had almost become distorted. Zidian also bloomed in a dangerous white light. Amid the chaos, a weakness appeared amid his movements. What Jin Guangyao had been waiting for was precisely the moment of weakness. He flung out the constring that he'd been hiding. Zhang Qing immediately steadied himself to counter the attack, Zidian entangling with the string. Feeling a numbness at the center of his hand, Jin Guangyao retreated at once. Yet, immediately after, he laughed lightly. With his left hand, he whipped out another string and attacked Wei Wuxian. Zhang Qing's pupils shrank to become just a point. With a flip of his wrist, he turned Zidian's direction to defend against the constring. Jinling, however, blurted, Uncle, watch out. With this chance, Jin Guangyao unsheathed the sword that had been wrapped around his waist and thrusted it into the center of Zhang Cheng's chest. Face dark, Zhang Cheng clutched his chest. Blood leaked from between his fingers, immediately dyeing the fabric a blackish purple. Right Zidan stopped the constring, it became the silver ring once more and returned to his hand. When its owner was bleeding excessively or severely injured, the spiritual weapon would return to its lowest form on its own. Using the opportunity, Jin Guangyao hurried over and sealed away his spiritual flow. He took out a handkerchief from his sleeve to clean his sword and wrapped it back around his waist. Jinling had long since rushed over to hold Zhang Cheng up. Lan Zichen sighed, "Do not move rashly. Help him sit down slowly." In Chapter The Grand Master of Demonic Cultivation. Chapter 101. Hatred, Part 5. Although he was pierced right through the chest, Zhang Cheng wasn't so weak as to have died right then. It just wasn't the best for him to move or conjure up his spiritual powers. He didn't like it when others tried to help him. Turning to Jinling he said, "Fuck off." Jinling knew Zhang Cheng was still mad at him for running around. He felt guilty and didn't dare defend himself. The dog's barks came from afar, followed by a sudden wail. Jinling shuddered as he remembered what Jin Guangyao said, shouting, "Fairy, run! They're gonna kill you." Soon, Sushi rushed through the storm, furious. "Jin Guangyao, you didn't kill it?" Sushi's expression darkened. "I couldn't. Can't believe the dog's so spineless. It's wild when somebody's there to help it, but as soon as it's at a disadvantage, it runs away faster than anyone." Jin Guangyao shook his head. "It might lead someone else over. We should finish things quickly here." "Sushi, those good-for-nothings. I'll go make them hurry." Jinling, on the other hand, let out a sigh of relief. Seeing Zhang Cheng sit on the ground, still dark-faced, he turned to Lan Wangji after some hesitation. "Han Guangjun, are there any more sitting mats?" The 4 mats that they'd been sitting on were all gathered by Lan Wangji. However, there were only 4 within the temple. After some silence, Lan Wangji stood up and pushed over the one he'd been sitting on. Jinling hurried, "Thank you. It's fine. I'll just give him mine." "Lan Wangji, there is no need." As soon as he finished, he sat down beside Wei Wuxian. Even as the two sat so seriously on the same sitting mat, they didn't seem too cramped. Now that the mat was handed over already, Jinling scratched his head before dragging Zhang Cheng over. Zhang Cheng first pressed onto an acupoint at his chest, stopping the blood flow. After he sat down, he looked up and glanced over at Wei Wuxian and Lan Wangji. He soon looked down again. His face was gloomy, disclosing nothing of what he was thinking. Right at this point, an ecstatic cry came from behind the palace. "Sect leader! We got it! A corner is out already!" Jin Guangyao's expression relaxed quite somewhat. He quickly walked back behind the palace. "Press on. Please be careful. There's not much time left." Over a dozen streaks of lightning twisted their way across the edge of the sky. They were soon followed by a series of roaring thunder. Over there, Wei Wuxian and Lan Wangji sat together while Zhang Cheng sat at the side. Jinling dragged his own mat over as well. Amid the pounding of the rain, there was a long wall of dead, awkward silence. Nobody spoke up. But for some reason, Jinling seemed as if he really wanted to talk to them. After some glancing around, he suddenly began, "Uncle, good thing you stopped that constring earlier on, or else things would be pretty bad." Zhang Cheng's face darkened. "You can shut up." If not for him leaving Jin Guangyao with a chance for a sneak attack due to his own unstable emotions, he wouldn't have landed in the enemy's hands either. On top of that, in reality, Wei Wuxian and Lan Wangji could have completely dodged the attack on their own. Even though, right now, Lan Wangji had no spiritual powers and Wei Wuxian's were low to begin with, their skills were still there. They couldn't attack, but they were still able to dodge. Clumsily, Jinling was trying to speak for his uncle, yet the deliberation made the situation even more awkward. After being scolded, Jinling stopped talking, embarrassed. Zhang Cheng sealed his lips together and didn't speak again. Wei Wuxian didn't say anything either. In the past, he definitely laughed at Zhang Cheng for being so easily provoked that he gave the opponent an opportunity. But now, recalling what Zhen Guangyao said, he understood everything. Zhang Cheng knew the truth already. Lan Wangji stroked Wei Wuxian's back a few more times. Wei Wuxian looked up. Lan Wangji didn't seem at all surprised. His eyes were almost gentle. Wei Wuxian felt his heart skip a beat. He couldn't help but whisper, "You knew?" Lan Wangji nodded slowly. Wei Wuxian let out a light breath. Wen Ning. Wen Ning had originally been keeping Suobian, but now it was in Zhang Cheng's hands. And on their way back from Lotus Pier, Wen Ning said nothing of such a matter. Wei Wuxian, when did he say it? Lan Wangji, while you were unconscious. Wei Wuxian, this was how we left Lotus Pier? If not that Wen Ning hadn't found them yet, Wei Wuxian would definitely have begun glaring at him already. Lan Wangji, he always felt sorry for you. Wei Wuxian's tone was tinged with anger. I told him so many times not to say it. Out of the blue, Zhang Cheng spoke up, not to do what? Wei Wuxian paused in surprise, turning to him along with Lan Wangji. Zhang Cheng covered his wound with one hand, his voice chilly. Wei Wuxian, you're such a great, selfless person. You did the best things possible, and you swallowed all the suffering and didn't let anyone know. What a touching story. I should kneel down and cry in gratitude, shouldn't I? Hearing the mocking tone that lacked any courtesy, Lan Wangji's face grew cold. Jinling saw the displeased expression and immediately stood in front of Zhang Cheng, scared that Lan Wangji would kill him with one strike. Uncle. Wei Wuxian's expression worsened as well. He never expected Zhang Cheng to make up with him after he found out the truth, but he didn't think his tone would be as unkind as ever, either. With a moment of silence, he replied, voice muffled, I never asked you to thank me. Zhang Cheng let out a ha, of course. Giving without expecting anything in return. What a high level. Unlike me, of course. So that's why my father always said you were the one who truly understood the Zhang sect's motto and did things the Zhang way, back when he was alive. Wei Wuxian couldn't keep on listening any longer, interrupting him, enough. Zhang Cheng's voice harshened, what do you mean, enough? It's enough as long as you say so? You know everything. You're better than me at everything. Whether it be talent or cultivation or spirituality or personality, you guys knew everything while I was much lower, then what am I? He suddenly reached out, as if to seize Wei Wuxian's collar. Lan Wangji grabbed Wei Wuxian's shoulder with one hand, letting Wei Wuxian stand behind him, and with his other hand he forcefully pushed away Zhang Cheng's hand. Rage could be seen hidden within his eyes. Although his push held no spiritual energy, it was quite powerful in terms of strength. The wound at Zhang Cheng's chest ripped apart again. Blood surged. Jinling cried, Uncle, your wound. Han Guangjun, spare some mercy. However, Lan Wangji's voice was cold, Zhang Wenyan, spare some virtue. Lan Zichen took off his outer robe and lay it over the shivering Nie Huai saying, Sect leader Zhang, please do not be so agitated. Your injury will worsen. Zhang Cheng shoved Jinling, who'd been holding him up helplessly, out of the way. Even though he was losing blood, it rushed to his head unceasingly. His face switched between white and red. Why? Wei Wuxian, just fucking why? Behind Lan Wangji, Wei Wuxian replied stiffly, why what? Zhang Cheng, just how much did we the Zhang sect give you? I'm supposed to be his son, I'm supposed to be the heir of the Yun Zhang sect, yet all these years I've been outdone by you at every single thing. You paid for your bringing up with life. The lives of my dad, my mom, my sister, and Jin Zhuan. Because of you, all that's left is a parentless Jinling. Jinling trembled. His shoulders sunk, and his face sagged as well. Wei Wuxian moved his lips, but he couldn't say anything. Lan Wangji turned around to hold his hand. On the other hand, Zhang Cheng refused to give up, shouting, Wei Wuxian, who was the one who broke his promise and betrayed the Zhang sect first? Tell me. That I'd be the sect leader and you'd be my subordinate, that you'd help me your whole life, that so long as the Gusilan sect had its two jades, the Yunzhang sect would have its two prides, that you'd never betray me or betray the Zhang sect. Who was the one that said these? I'm asking you, who was the one that said all these? Did you eat all your fucking words? He got more agitated as he ranted on, and in the end? You go and protect outsiders, haha. The Wind sect's people, even. How much of their rice did you eat? Defecting with such resolution. What did you take our sect to be? You did all the best things, yet every time you do the worst ones, it's involuntary. Forced. With some unspeakable grievances. Grievances? You told me nothing, you played me for a fool. Just how much do you owe the Zhang sect? Am I not supposed to hate you? Can I not hate you? Why is it that now it's like I'm supposed to have wronged you? Why do I have to feel like I'm a fucking clown all these years? What am I? Do I deserve to be blinded by all your dazzling splendor? Am I not supposed to hate you? Lan Wangji shot up. With panic, Jinling stood in front of Zhongqing, Han Guangjun. My uncle's hurt. Zhongqing slapped him onto the ground. Let him come. Am I scared of him? But after the slap, Jinling froze. Not only him, Wei Wuxian, Lan Wangji, and Lin Ziqin all stopped moving. Zhongqing was crying. Tears poured from his eyes as he forced through his teeth. Why? Why didn't you tell me? Zhongqing clenched his fist, like he wanted to hit someone, like he wanted to hit himself. In the end, he still slammed it onto the ground. He should have been able to loathe Wei Wuxian without a care. But right now, the golden core revolving within him took away all that confidence. Wei Wuxian didn't know what to say. In the beginning, it was precisely because he didn't want to see such a Zhongqing that he decided not to tell him. He remembered every single thing he promised Zhang Fengmian and Madame Yu, to help and take care of Zhongqing. If someone as unhealthily competitive as him found out about this, he'd be dispirited his whole life, too tortured to face himself. There'd always be something he could never overcome, reminding him that he could only reach where he was because of another's sacrifice. It wasn't at all his cultivation and his achievement. No matter if he won or lost, he'd long since lost the right to compete. Afterwards, it was because Jin Zixuan and Zhang Yanli died for him that he had no face to let others know. To tell Zhongqing after what happened then would be like shirking responsibility, hurrying to demonstrate that he'd contributed as well. It'd be like telling Zhongqing, don't hate me, look I've contributed to the Yunzhang sect too. Zhongqing cried soundlessly, but tears had already streaked across his face. To cry in such an unsightly way in front of others was almost impossible for him in the past. But every single moment that passed from now on, as long as the golden core remained in his body, as long as it could still revolve, he'd forever remember this feeling. He choked. You said I'd be the sect leader and you'd be my subordinate, you said you'd help me your whole life, you said you'd never betray the Yunzhang sect. You said so yourself. After a moment of silence, Wei Wuxian replied, I'm sorry. I broke my promise. Zhongqing shook his head, burying his face deep into his palms. A second later, he suddenly burst out with a laugh. His muffled voice mocked, it's such a time already, and I still need you to say sorry to me. What a fragile person I am. In Chapter The Grand Master of Demonic Cultivation. Chapter 102. Hatred, Part 6. Sect leader Jiang's words were eternally tainted with mockery. But this time, whom he mocked was no one but himself. Suddenly, he said, I'm sorry. Wei Wuxian hesitated, you don't need to say sorry. At this point, it was impossible to figure out who should apologize to whom. Wei Wuxian continued, take it as my repayment to the Zhang sect. Zhongqing looked up. He looked at him with teary, bloodshot eyes, and a hoarse voice, repayment to my father, my mother, my sister? Wei Wuxian pressed his temples, forget it. It's all in the past now. Let's not mention it again. It wasn't something he liked to reminisce about. He didn't want to be reminded again and again of what it felt like when his core was cut out or what price he had to pay. If this were exposed in the past, he'd most likely laugh and comfort Zhongqing. It's not that big of a deal anyways. Look at me all these years. Without the core, I still managed to come through, didn't I? Beating everyone I wanted to beat, killing everyone I wanted to kill. But now, he indeed didn't have the strength left to put up such a confident, nonchalant pretense. From the bottom of his heart, he knew he wasn't so indifferent about it after all. Was it really that easy to move on from such a thing? Of course not. In truth, when Wei Wuxian was 17 or 18, his pride wasn't much lower than Zhongqing's. He once had strong spiritual powers, more talented than others. No matter how much he fooled around, staying up all night pulling pranks on others, he was still far ahead of his classmates who worked so hard. But every time he tossed and turned as he lay awake at night, knowing he'd never reach the stars using proper means, knowing he'd never wield his sword with the excellence that was supposed to bring astonishment to so many eyes, he wondered if Zhang Fengmiang hadn't taken him back to Lotus Pier, perhaps he wouldn't cross paths with cultivation his whole life. Then he would have never known that such a magnificent path existed in this world. He'd only be a head beggar who roamed the streets, fleeing at first sight of a dog, or maybe looking after cows and stealing other people's crops in the countryside, playing his flute to pass his time. He wouldn't have known to cultivate, and he definitely wouldn't have had the chance to form a core. With such thoughts, he'd felt much better. Take it as repayment, or take it as redemption. Take it as he'd never received the golden core to begin with. After explaining things to himself like this again and again, it was as though he was truly as confident and as nonchalant as he made it seem like on the surface, and along the way he could even praise himself for such a state of mind, whether he was lying or not. But that was in his past life. Wei Wuxian, I think it's best if you also stop keeping it on your mind. I know you'll definitely always keep it on your mind, but, how should I say it? He clenched Lan Wangji's hand, saying to Zhongqing, right now, I do really think it's all in the past. It's been too long. There's no need to struggle with it any longer. Zhongqing wiped his face roughly, drying his tears. He took in a deep breath and closed his eyes. At this point, still enveloped in Lan Zichen's robe, Yi Huaisang gradually woke up. Moaning lightly, he managed to crawl up, still bleary-eyed. Where am I? Yet, the instant he got up, he saw Wei Wuxian and Lan Wangji sitting together so tightly on the same sitting mat. The Yiling patriarch was basically sitting on Han Guangjun's lap. He immediately let out a wail, as if he was about to faint again. At the same time, a series of strange sounds came from behind the Guanyin temple, as though something was being spurt out. A moment later, the cultivators who'd been digging began to wail too. The expressions of everyone in the temple changed. Immediately, a somewhat pungent odor drifted outside. As Lan Xichen covered his face with his sleeves, some worry could be seen in his eyes. Soon, two figures staggered outside. Su Shi was holding Jin Guangyao up. The two looked pale, while the wails from behind the palace continued. Su Shi, sect leader, how do you feel? Cold sweat seeped from Jin Guangyao's forehead. Fine. Thank you for back then. His left hand dangled, unable to be lifted. His entire arm trembled, as though he was suffering extreme pain. With his right hand he took a bottle of pills from his lapels. He wanted to open it, but it was difficult with just one hand. Seeing this, Su Shi immediately took over the bottle and tipped a pill into his palm. Jin Guangyao lowered his head, gulping it down with a frown. His brows relaxed immediately. Lan Xichen hesitated for a moment before asking, what happened? Jin Guangyao paused in surprise. Blood finally seemed to have rose to his cheeks as he managed a smile. An accident. He took out some medicinal powder and sprinkled it over his hand. An area of red had appeared from the back of his left hand to his wrist. With observation, it could be seen that the skin seemed like cooked meat. The skin was completely ruined. Jin Guangyao tore off a part of his white sleeves, his fingers trembling slightly, Min Shan, wrap it tight around my wrist. Zǔ Shī, it's poisonous. Jin Guangyao, the poison is still flowing upwards. It's not a big deal. The poison can be ejected with some rest. Right after Zǔ Shī treated his wound, Jin Guangyao wanted to return behind the palace to inspect. Zǔ Shī hurried, "Sect leader, let me go." The pungent smell dissipated gradually. Wei Wuxian and Lan Wangji got up as well. A tall mountain of dirt could be seen beside a deep ditch. Quite a delicate coffin lay at one side, atop it a pitch-black box. Both of the two had been opened already, and thin, white smoke continued to rise from within. The odor came from the white smoke, which meant it must be some sort of fatal poison. Corpses that belonged to the cultivators who'd been digging so earnestly lay scattered all around the coffin. Right now, they had been burned alive. Even their uniforms and robes had been corroded to black fragments. It was obvious just how poisonous the white smoke was. Leading the way, he used his sword energy to repel the remaining smoke. The tip of his blade flicked across the black box. The iron chest fell to the ground. It was empty. Jin Guangyao finally couldn't hold himself back any longer. He stumbled towards the edge of the coffin. The blood that had returned to his face immediately faded again. It could be seen just by his expression that the coffin was empty as well. Lan Zichen approached. After he saw the horror that had become of the palace, he was shocked. "What in the world did you bury here? How could this be?" Nie Huaisang only had a glance before he collapsed to the ground, retching. Jin Guangyao's lips trembled. He couldn't say anything. A streak of lightning exploded, reflecting against the pale white of his face. His expression was terrifying indeed, sending chills down Nie Huaisang's spine. He didn't even dare vomit too loudly, covering his mouth behind Lan Zichen's back, shivering whether out of fear or the cold. Lan Zichen turned around and said a few words of comfort to him, while Jin Guangyao didn't even have the strength to upkeep his kind, gentle front. "Wei Wuxian, Zi Wujun, now you're doing wrong to sect leader Jin here. He wasn't the one who buried the things here at all. Even if he buried something in the beginning, it should be long since someone switched them with something else." Zǔ Shī pointed at him with his sword, his voice cold. "Wei Wuxian, is this a trick of yours?" "Wei Wuxian, I'm not trying to brag, but if I were the one who pulled a trick on you, an arm might not be all that's wounded on your sect leader. Sect leader Jin, did you still remember the letter Qin Su brought you, back on Koi Tower?" Jin Guangyao's eyes slowly moved toward him. "Wei Wuxian, the one who told Qin Su the good things you did was Madame Qin's previous maid, Baikao. But when Baikao suddenly decided to expose everything, did you really believe nobody was pushing things forward from behind? And Maiden CC, the one you locked up? Who saved her? Who was the one that told her to go to the Yunjiang sect with Baikao and expose your secrets in front of everyone? If they could find out every single one of those hidden secrets of yours, sect leader Jin, what's so hard about coming here beforehand and switching what you wanted to dig up with poisonous smoke to give you when you came?" Suddenly, a monk spoke. "Sect leader, there are signs of displacement in the dirt here. Somebody's dug in from the other side before." As expected, someone was here first. Jin Guangyao turned around, slamming his fist on the empty coffin. Nobody could see his expression, but all could see his trembling shoulders. Wei Wuxian grinned. "Sect leader Jin, have you ever thought that perhaps tonight you're a mantis, yet there's an Oriole behind you? The one who's been watching you might be hiding in the dark this exact moment, observing your every move. No, maybe, it's not a person." The storm muffled the thunder. As he heard the words "not a person," for a split second, something that could be described as fear flashed across Jin Guangyao's face. Zǔ Shī sneered, "Wei Wuxian, stop with the empty intimidation." Jin Guangyao raised his right hand to stop him. The fear on his face went as soon as it came. All of his emotions were quickly under control. He spoke, "Don't waste your energy on arguing. Treat the injury on your body. After I remove the poison, gather the rest of the people at once and prepare to depart." Zǔ Shī, sect leader, what about the thing that's been dug out? Jin Guangyao's lips were a bit pale. If it's been dug out already, it's definitely be impossible to take back. We shouldn't stay here for long. Zǔ Shī, yes. Back when Zǔ Shī fought with Fairy, he'd been wounded in many places by its claws. His clothes were ripped both at his arms and his chest, and at his chest especially, the wounds dug deep into his flesh. Blood seeped through the white robes. If the wounds weren't treated properly, he might not be able to face whatever emergency situations that happened. As time went on, Jin Guangyao took out a pouch of medicine from his lapels and passed it to him. Zǔ Shī received it with both hands. Yes. Indeed, he stopped talking to Wei Wuxian as he turned around and took off his clothes to treat his wounds. Jin Guangyao still couldn't move the hand burned by the poisonous smoke. He could only sit on the ground and concentrate on expelling the poison. The remaining cultivators held their swords as they walked back and forth inside Guanyin Temple, keeping guard. As he saw these glaring blades, Nie Huaisang's eyes went straight ahead. He had no guards beside him, so he didn't even dare let out a loud breath. Shrunken against the corner behind Lin Zichen, he let out quite a few sneezes. Wei Wuxian thought, to other people, Zǔ Shī's quite sarcastic, and to Lan Zhan, he's even more resentful. But he's sure quite respectful towards Jin Guangyao. As he thought this, he couldn't help glancing at Lan Wangji, just in time to see a streak of ice flash before his eyes. Voice cold, Lan Wangji spoke to Zǔ Shī, turn around. Zǔ Shī was looking down, applying medicine to the scratch marks at his chest, facing them sideways. As he heard Lan Wangji's almost inviolable command, he involuntarily turned around. As he turned around, both Zhongcheng and Jinling widened their eyes. The grin on Wei Wuxian's face disappeared as well. He almost couldn't believe it. It's you. In Chapter